yesterday. It is hyper carry season, and it's about whether or not we can get these bot lane duos set up. For a team like Oplon, you would like to see Zico on these carries. I know that he plays all of them, for example. And it's nice that Vitality.Bee have obviously identified that just from the get-go.
ADC weak roll. Only 3 ADC bans out of a possible 6, or out of a possible 5 so far. Gwen taken off the board, Karma taken off the board. There are a lot of other just OP champions that we tend to think of that haven't been removed thus far. The Wukong, one of them. And that is the pick that we sort of expect to see. Potentially a Viego or a Lilia. We are on durability patch. Remember, this is not week 1 anymore. We've got that
Interesting.
12-10B. And oh, our first pick. That is a lot. That is a lot from Oplon.
So we've seen it a few times thus far in the LFL split. It's been a champion. It normally gets picked a little bit later into the draft phase. It's
Yeah.
obviously very strong. Adam had a very strong performance on it. We've also seen Cabashard play it. You want to be able to get it into champions, especially top lane that can't get away from it that easily. Gangplank is a pretty brave pick into it in the sense of Olaf can run it over. You traditionally see stuff like the Tryndamere, stuff like the Camille played into it that doesn't necessarily have that kill threat. But also seeing them hand over stuff like the Wukong is interesting. They do get the Lily in response. The Ari from Peng should be countered here by Diplex. I know that he has the champion pool able to find something that works into it.
And so far, it just looks like everybody has done the draft previously, and we're just locking in our champions. We've got Sagenda on the Gangplank, which I think is a pick that's going to be absolutely terrifying. Has played it once this season, went 4-1-6 on it. Had a very good performance all the same. The Lilia for Schönfire, something I'm excited by. A little bit slower pace through the early stages, but should have a lot more playmaking potential in the late game. And Peng does get countered. This Veigar has sort of rose as a primary counter previously before the Lissandra did. So Diplex flexing himself a little bit and saying, you know what, I fancy the Veigar this time around a little bit more damage oriented as opposed to team setup.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. Obviously, you see the Lissandra being played somewhat as well. We saw that utilized as a counter yesterday, but traditionally, Veigar, more of a champion than we see. It is important to note, having spoken to Nymira a little bit about for a bit of Ari expertise, Ari doesn't get countered directly by the Veigar as long as you have good matchup in terms of jungle. Lilia into Wukong, how does that work, Mr. Rude Dude?
Yeah, we touched on this one a little bit yesterday. The thing that Lilia really does well is try and, match the pace, sort of outpace the Wukong as well a little bit in its clear, which can be fairly difficult for junglers. Also, the clone aspect of Wukong, as long as you found any sort of damage from the Lilia previously, is never really a mystery. Your clone is more so just for a reposition because the Lilia, passive of course, dealing damage over time. Whenever the Wukong presses the clone, you see that shimmer near immediately as to where the invisible champion is, and you can get away with, knowing where this Wukong is quite easily. And for Fire as well, I think that this is a good matchup that is sort of why they're willing to give over the Wukong, because you can also just use the Lilia to kind of run away as well, just with the amount of movement speed that she's got. You can use the Blooming Blows and just walk away from the Wukong, essentially.
Yeah, I think that is indeed the case. It's impressive to me that Vitality.Bee, like we said, it's a point that we've just made earlier in the draft, but opting in for that Gangplank versus, I mean, opting in for that Gangplank versus Olaf matchup to me speaks to a real, not necessarily disrespect from Shigenda, but it is a matchup whereby, like you say, but previously you do want a little bit of escape because the Olaf can be very strong and run over. This speaks to me that Shigenda is very confident going into this matchup and they want to be able to shut down through the top side. But I mean, that's been the name of the game for Vitality.Bee in pretty much all of the games thus far.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Oh, hey, the Zeri comes through. Interesting. I wonder what they're going to pair this with for the bot lane duo. With Zeri having fallen a little bit out of priority, we actually saw this once in the North American amateur space as well. It was Maryville University that pulled out the Zeri for a game that didn't end up winning, but had a very good showing all the same. Zillion comes through, so move speed on movement speed for this bot lane of Oplon, and it is going to make it quite difficult for Vitality.Bee to find engagements, right? If you're looking at this composition, you could argue fairly pick oriented in the Veigar, fairly teamfight oriented with the GP Wukong and potential Jinx and Renata that's going to come through as well. But trying to get that first kill, not going to be as easy with that Zillion passive up and available, or Zillion ulti rather, up and available. So that Jinx reset that we just see locked in, not going to be as easy to come by.
Yeah, completely. It has a lot of stopping power, I think is the phrase that we were using before. Obviously, the Lily are able to avoid a lot of it, especially if it goes that tanky build. The Ari having a lot of utility in terms of escapes as well. It's more for me a case of it's quite a magic damage heavy competition. I think it would be fair to say Z-Core kind of has to get off of the races, as well as Dalek has to kind of be able to find some slight advantages in the top side. But in terms of the composition, Rude Dude, do you think this is it? We talked about narrative wise how Oplon need to be able to offer resistances in the early game. Are they tasked to be able to do that with this composition?
Yeah, they really are. Like you say, Ari not directly countered by the Veigar, still has a perfectly fine laning phase. The GP should be struggling for the top side of Vitality.Bee, so Dalek, we're imagining he's going to have the run of things up in that top lane, right? The way that Olaf works is he wants to slam that early game and just become a mid-game terror that you can never really try and take down. If you are Dalek this game, you need to try and find those early leads. You can set yourselves up for success, and it creates a different pressure point on the map for Oplon. Previously, we know they've been focusing that bot side of the map, trying to get G-Core ahead, but Zilly and Zeri as a bot lane 2v2, they can be fairly self-sufficient. There's a lot of maneuverability to escape ganks and stay safe for the most part, and up against a Renata Jinx, their kill threat shouldn't be too high. And for Oplon, if they can use this top side priority that they've generated for themselves, then they should be good to go. We're expecting Oplon to be able to use that top side to leverage some early game leads and set up for G-Core to carry late, or potentially for Dalek to be a carry right here, right now in that early stage of the game. There's plenty of choices, plenty of ways that Vitality.Bee, or rather that Oplon can play the matchup out. For Vitality.Bee, you can never sort of counter out the fact that, like you said, they get to the mid game, it's somewhat even. They have this incredible team fighting composition with Jinx, Wukong, and a Gangplank that are always going to be able to fight you late.
Yeah, they're always going to have options going forward in that later stage of the game. How is Zeri on 12.10, Rudu? Because I know there's been a lot of hype I've been seeing on Twitter as of the last day or so, because I believe it's getting buffed in the next coming patch, and it's looking very strong. A lot more people starting to play it, but is it looking okay at the moment on this patch? Is this hadn't necessarily been something I'd anticipated seeing.
Zeri's got her place. We'll have to wait and see how it plays down. We are getting ready to go into game number 1 though, so we'll check back in on the other side of this.
Oplon can show us a little bit more clarity than they have in these previous games. We see them waiting in the wings here, waiting behind that crystal encapsulement. As we head on, we see the LFL proud banners as we enter our first game of the day, week 2, day 2. I'm joined obviously by Rude Dude. I am Don Jake, and we're on to the Rift now. Mr. Rude Dude, excited for this game?
I am. I really am. I think that this is probably the best setup that Vitality or that Oplon have had for a game, really, in general. I think that they've got a lot of tools to try and take the win this time round and to set themselves up for success. This is a composition that Vitality.Bee have drafted that is going to do very well in the late game. And to counter that, Oplon, they've got themselves a fairly heavy early game composition on that top side, right? We've got the Olaf, we've got an Ari who can push and establish prio, making Schönfire's life fairly easy for the early stages. Hopefully, we can see Oplon leverage some top lane priority and then set up for the potential hyper carry of G-Core in the late game. I will say it's going to be very difficult for G-Core to out carry a Jinx, Wukong, GP comp, but it's not impossible. Zeri's range with lethal tempo can be fairly, I'll say not overwhelming, but interesting to try and play against.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. Deceptive was the word I was going to go for.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
That's more accurate, I think. I mean, I think even with the fact it's going to be a case of Z-Core has to dash in and out, do some consistent damage, avoid some of the skill shots. Obviously, a Zillion's going to help you in that regard. In terms of this early 2v2, how does this play out with the Zillion Zeri versus the Jinx Renata early game?
Jinx in every lane always gets push. It's just the way Jinx works. You can expend a bit of mana and you can get push freely, essentially. But the Zillion as well kind of needs to try and poke out if that's going to be a strategy you want to use those bombs. But the issue with that is you do kind of give over a chance at wave manipulation, right? If Jackchow gets hit by a bomb and they want to de-shove the wave a little bit, you can just walk into the range of the wave and get the bomb to take a little bit of damage off of all of them. And then you can start ruining CS a little bit. For the most part, I expect this to be the one area of the map where Vitality.Bee do have control early on. The spot side should be fairly well favored for them.
Yeah, interesting adaptation. I mean, it's something we see a lot of champions like this. Liliad goes for the Raptor start here. It means that neither of the laners show in lane. She can have a little bit more secrecy in terms of where she started, which might make it a bit difficult going forward, but obviously delays slightly. You can see Wukong is a bit closer to completing his clear.
A little bit deceptive again once how these junglers try and click, because what you can do on Lilia now is actually just leash your blue and Gromp together and take the two camps at the same time, while Skeens has to sort of manually farm both sets of camps. But this top side matchup is another area that we'd expected Oplon to actually have success in, and Dalek so far certainly getting the slightly rough end of trades. Has only got that D shield versus and one pot versus the full sustain that a corrupting potion and biscuits is going to give you. So war of attrition in this top lane is certainly going to be fairly scary.
Yeah, war of attrition is going to be scary, but look, we talked about this earlier. Wukong slightly faster in terms of his clear. He is going to be here now. Dalek has the ghost available, but is going to be caught in quite a rough position here. Uses the Q here to get away. Skeens has cut him off, though, and the Lily is coming around the back. A lot of stalling time is brought here, but we need to see how low Dalek is going. He's at around 100 HP now. He uses the W. This could be good for Oplon if they can find Shigenda. Shigenda uses the W. It's a disaster. Skeens is going to have that E available in a second or so now. This is going to be a kill. Flash forward. That's it. That's the job done. 2-0. 2 Vitality now, and a disaster that's translated from jungle tempo.
And Dalek just not putting a ward down. Kind of a rookie mistake there. A little bit unforgivable, honestly. Skeens skips a camp and just goes top lane without having taken his Krugs. Not a particularly big deal for the Wukong, as he can go back, take those, you know, at a moment's notice, and not really have lost out on anything. You'll quite happily trade that for 2 kills. Shenfire gets there just a little bit too late to the party, unfortunately, and ends up being a double kill for Vitality.Bee in the top lane. Kind of disastrous for Oplon. We mentioned that this was going to be the power point of Oplon if they were ever going to have one in this matchup, and for the early game, that has really just fizzled out now by the wayside.
Yeah, completely unraveled at the seams there, unfortunately. We talked about how they needed to lean upon that topside matchup. They needed to not fall apart in terms of their solo laners. Dalek, unfortunately, baits his jungler into a rather unfavorable 2 versus 2 there. And it means that Vitality.Bee are going to get assured insurance through this early game.
Now they can potentially look for even more Skeens with those renewed
Skeens
double buffs.
Smite.
Yeah, just W's in, takes the smite. Thank you very much. Cheers for the leash, lad. We'll be heading on through the rest of the jungle, and again, just looking to now use that early couple kills to really punish the Lilia.
Yeah, and that's got to be a slap on the wrist for Shenfire. You were doing a decent job in terms of you go for this clear. You want there to be a bit of secrecy in terms of what direction you might be going into, but it all comes to the pale when Wukong finds that play in the top side. And now to have those Raptors taken away, obviously, are we going to have the move here beyond Diplex? But it's looking like might be an extended trade here. Olaf is going to have first move. Shenfire does get that Rift Skull in the end. It's going to move towards that crab as well now, but not crab, sorry, Raptors. God. Yeah. They've all got such similar names. It's the semantic field of R, dude. Even your name is an R.
Yeah, my apologies, making it even more difficult to try and comment on jungle pathing, as we've got both of our mid laners looking to teeter around the jungle.
Diplex has E here. If he can counter Shenfire, which he does, he's going to have the ultimate available as well. That's another kill. Peng's going to try and find a trade here. One more auto will do it, but he has to go straight into the cannonball barrage. He's going to have to flash over the wall now any second. The Zillion is here as well. Flashes last second. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Jack Troll is going to find Zico here. Has to cleanse away. Zico might find a return here, though. He comes out. It's coming very close. Jack Troll does have that W on himself now. It's gone very low. And Jeskler finds the W. It's a tragedy for Zico. He thought he was safe backing there. But Jack Troll walks up and finds a kill again for Vitality.
And it's just all going wrong for Oplon there. Early game composition that they want, or early game topside that they wanted to try and play out with, really just hasn't found the success it needed to. Twist on the roam up to the top side, doesn't get anything for it, doesn't even save his mid laner's flash. Granted, this is an Ori, it's not the end of the world, but it costs his AD carry their life down in the bot side. Jekyll with an unsafe back gets paid, gets punished really with the positioning there, and Vitality.Bee just off to the races once again.
Off to the races, and you talk about a team, it's almost that it's not mutually assured destruction, it's singular assured destruction if they can get through an early game. We've seen them be able to bulldoze through teams once they get this lead. And with a team like Oplon, who really needs slightly assured conditions in these early games to be met, they've kind of ticked all the boxes in terms of what can go wrong.
Yeah, they've hit everything on the head, right? They're currently winning top, looking very good in the mid lane, and they're winning bot lane. So in terms of where you're looking to as Oplon for how we come back into the game, you know, typically you want a strong side to try and play through. It's not particularly prevalent right now as to where they can go for it. Potentially still going to look toward that top lane, whilst the Olaf just has slightly better spike in terms of champion power. But it is going to be very difficult for Oplon. Down only 1,800 gold at this point, but that in the early game can feel very, very destructive. We'll have to see if they can find a way back into this one, or if the late game supremacy of this Jinx, Wukong, Granata, and GP are all going to come through.
And you have to feel like it's only going to surmount into an insurmountable level, because Vitality.Bee have not been a team that we see make a lot of these mid-game mistakes. They seem like a very disciplined team once they get to that point. Diplex is going to have to flash away here, as he has Shernfire and Peng waiting from there. There's an extended trade going on in the bot lane there. Jinx ultimate does come out and takes Twist quite low there. He doesn't have the level 6 available yet, so wouldn't have been able to resurrect himself if he'd have died there. Skeens is waiting for Shernfire here.
Yep,
and whether or not he has enough damage, he's in the E here. Peng is going to be in trouble as well. Ultimate comes out in response. The sleep goes down. Shernfire is going quite low. It's going to be a flash away from Wukong. A 1-for-1 trade for Oplon. No charm available for about 3 seconds or so from Peng. It's going to mean the end of that affair for now.
And honestly, a solid 1-for-1. You will take that if you're Oplon. You get a kill onto your mid lane, a Peng 2 and 0. We're starting to see that maybe there's a way for Oplon to play out this matchup. They've got some fairly decent pick potential with the Ahri, with the Lilia being able to put somebody to sleep. Double bombs on top of that as well if somebody's a little bit poor later on. Could be an opportunity, a way in which Oplon can play out these mid-game fights and try and secure themselves slight advantages.
Yeah, completely agree with you. If you're Oplon, you kind of want to take whatever you can get at this point, whatever Vitality.Bee will throw at you. Unfortunately, all they are throwing at you is a 1-for-1 at the moment. It's not exactly the best deal in the world. Twist is level 5 on the turret here. Might have to be careful. Zeri's quite a ways away. Skeens is coming around now. Yeah. He's been locked under the turret now. No one to help him. He's left completely to his own devices. His ping's coming down from Oplon to go for that Rift Herald, but a nice little dodge from him, but the ultimate is going to come out. He flashes, unfortunately, into it. Twist and turn. And that's going to be a shout and a scream as Twist says, "Nobody can hear me, please help."
Yeah, unfortunate there. Flash just before he sees the Jinx rocket, right? Maybe would have gotten away with a better placed flash, but not going to get away this time. And the Zillion still searching for his ultimate, not going to be able to live this time around on the bot side. Really good capitalization once again from Vitality.Bee. Getting themselves an extra kill in the early stages of this game that they don't really need, but they'll be more than happy to secure. Currently, 5 out of 6 kill participation for Skeens as well has been pretty much everywhere on the Rift as and when was needed. The only time that didn't happen to be the case was when Vitality.Bee sort of fought out G-Core on the recall. So we're going to be very happy with the Skeens performance thus far this game.
Yeah, he's been everywhere on the Rift. Important to note he wasn't at that Rift that was just taken. That is an important thing to note, that Shernfire now does have that Rift Herald. Whether or not he can actually do much with it is another question for the ensuing minutes or so. Has about 3 minutes to work with. And Rude Dude, where do you think he might be going with this? As we do see an extended trade from Dalek here. This might go down to the very wire. He does use the ultimate now. He has the W. This is going to go very quickly. This is going to go very low. He's burning now. Shernfire is here, though. He's played well with the stasis, has Jagenda, but he's going to be a sitting duck in that regard, and Oplon find another crucial kill for themselves.
And this time it's Shernfire who's faster to the top lane to bail out the 1v1. Really nice stuff from Shern there to get up and make sure that his top laner survives. Going to be a slight advantage given over to Dalek. And it's also worth mentioning Skeens was there just to protect from any sort of Rift Herald shenanigans having gone down. I also want to mention here that the junglers are slightly mismatched right now. Shernfire has opted into this more farm heavy style, even though has been at these plays and has gone down, just being able to pick up those kills time and time again, or pick up the camps rather time and time again, and is still a little bit ahead in experience, ahead in the gold department as well. We're not looking too bad so far, but now obviously with not having found that base just yet, there's a slight disparity in those gold items.
There is. He does obviously have that stopwatch. I believe it would be from runes as well, so it's important to note that for a potential skirmish that will be ensuing, maybe potentially around this next dragon, or first dragon rather. We do see a lot of domination thus far in this bot lane from the Jinx and the Renata. Renata is kind of acting like a pseudo karma in terms of how often it is bullying out the Zilean, but only time will tell how Z-Core and Twist can ramp up in this game.
If they're allowed to get there. Dalek now in trouble on the top
Dalek's
side.
gone quite low. Trial by Fire is ticking down, has that W available. Wasimi has so much ability to kind of survive some of these trades from Shigenda with that W. This is the power of the Olaf pick, obviously, with that W. The tides have turned in that top lane matchup now. Obviously up XP now, up around 20 CS or so as well.
Yeah, despite the first 2v2.
Oh, here comes Skeens, though. This is going to be dangerous if Diplex can find the E. Peng's Charm goes wide. Skeens goes in for R2 now. No box was found. Ultimate comes down. Schönfire goes into stasis. The W's been timed perfectly from Diplex. Peng has to go away, watching the dead deer on the ground. Bambi, the deer in the headlights, is Peng. Just to watch his jungler dead on the ground. It's an ultimate over the wall here. Zilean ult is available, but can they do the damage? No, they cannot.
Unfortunately, trying to ult a Zeri as a Renata doesn't actually do too much. Zeri's auto attack is not her leading source of DPS, obviously comes from the Q. This Renata pick may not have the greatest or the most overwhelming power in this 2v2 specifically. You start seeing Olaf hit you, okay.
Here goes Z-Core though, goes aggressively. Has the Zilean ult available at any time there. Probably a little bit of aggression there. Doesn't yield any fruits thus far, but nice to see he's not asleep today. He's had his morning coffee.
Yeah,
afternoon coffee rather.
Maybe would have liked to see them just use the Zilean ulti there and, at least force Vitality.Bee to pop it in response. But never mind. They're going to save that for hopefully bigger and better things a little bit later on down the line. Have to see if they do get some support or some form of value out of that chrono shift in a couple of seconds time, or in a couple of minutes time at the very least. Jessica's still able to push in this wave though, and is going to get that better reset off. Not going to miss likely anything. Even could have stayed for the turret, but has elected not to. Elected to keep this laning phase still relatively locked as far as that goes.
Yeah, not massively wanting to extend out of that laning phase, but here is the Lilia gets dragged into the cage there by Jack Troll. He's going to be going into Zilean ult now. Goes back to a relatively good amount of HP. Going to be walking away with that passive. They couldn't quite stop the Rift Herald though. I didn't get a chance to see their route, dude. Did they manage to pick up any plates there?
No, not enough time on that. Fell down about 30 seconds before they were able to get the Herald and get it charged in. We do get to see that value from the Chrono break though. Chrono shift getting the Lilia back to life, preventing what would have been the 5th death for Schönfire in this game.
Back to reality. 3k gold lead is the reality for Vitality.Bee right now. It's getting to that point now. We're into that mid game, the famous mid game of Vitality.Bee. And to be or not to be in terms of mid game dominance is the question, as they do get that first turret of the game. Going forward for Oplon. Yeah, 2k lead now.
Well, for ADC specifically, look at that.
Oh god. Yeah, that is a lot of gold.
We talked about the late game team fighting for Vitality.Bee. Getting the gold and the items onto your Jinx is literally the best place that you could hope for. So having that 2k advantage, largely having came from the plates and from those couple of kills that came over, it is a very big deal and something that Vitality.Bee can just leverage now, even if this top side maybe not going the way that they'd have hoped after the first couple of kills. It won't be enough to surmount the disparity between Jessica and Z-Core. The amount of gold that this Jinx has really could just be the undoing factor that Oplon really don't want to find out about.
Yeah, completely agree. It's going to be the case now that we have this Rift Herald coming in relatively soon. Whether or not they opt into, obviously they've swapped the AD carry and support into this top side now. Whether or not they want to play with that now. I think important to note as well that we've not quite touched on is how strong the Veigar is. He's going to be moving towards a very high AP values very, very quickly in this game. Would actually be nice if during a lapse in action we get to see how much AP he quite has. It's always a fun thing to do with Veigars. Jack Troll goes aggressively here. It's going to be Z-Core waiting in the wings, as well as Skeens. But nothing to happen just yet, and they are going to go towards that Rift Herald like aforementioned.
Yeah, I love the support build path that they're just mirroring one another, right? Tier 2 boots for the roams and then immediately into Mythic, and this is like literally full build for supports. You know, this sort of level of play. Jack Troll.
Jack Troll's gone for a little bit of a fat finger there. That happens on occasion. Doesn't need his flash. Why would you need it?
That's true. Just position. Go ahead.
Yeah, just play better and you don't need it. It's fine.
Flash is a luxury.
Exactly. That is a good way of putting it. It's like a it's like during Lent when you give up things, you know? Will you give up Flash for Lent this year, rude dude?
Probably. I could be convinced.
How long could you go without Flash?
I could go months at a time without Flash.
That's great from you. That shows a lot of dedication and perseverance. Yeah. We should start a subreddit. It's like a men's health subreddit. It's called No Flash.
I don't think we should.
You don't think we should?
No, I don't.
Fair enough. Zico actually is the one to get that Gromp there. Steals that away. A little bit of cheeky movement from him there.
But important to note right now is that we do have Zico's first item coming through. The Mythic has finally been completed, so that immortal shield bow is going to make it a lot harder now to try and dive onto Oplon and onto their backline specifically. I have to see whether or not there's that anti-synergy between the two of them. The two of them being Zico and Twist. Because Twist may well throw down the ulti when that shield bow's about to pop, and then you get that little bit of, I guess, baited by your own teammate. We've all been there when a Kindred and a Zillion are in the same game and they both ult at the same time, and a bit of an awkward moment. It can sort of happen with Immortal Shield Bow as well. Have to keep your eyes on whether or not that ends up needing to be used in that capacity. Moving forward, though, we have got that Drake spawning in about 15 seconds. Currently, just the one Drake for Vitality.Bee. A fairly slow pace game in that department. So if Oplon can set this one up and slow down that dragon stacking, means that this late game comp of Vitality.Bee isn't going to hit on that soul win condition too early.
Yeah, I think it's really crucial for them to be able to do that. I'm not entirely sure what dragon it even is because there's still that weird...
Hextech.
Is it Hextech?
Always Hextech. If it's wrong, it's Hextech.
Is that the actual rule?
Yes.
You are so smart, Rude Dude. This is why you are the guy with all the ideas. Pen goes in here, misses the charm, manages to get out of there just about, but Twist has to flash away. Zico's going quite low now. Renata ult comes in, hits two now. Zico's the one who cleanses. Diplex flashes forward, but Schönfire is taken out on the backside. It was a very, very low affair for Dalek there. I think 100 HP was the margin there. A lot of cooldowns burned by Vitality.Bee, but Oplon as well. We're able to get that Drake and walk away with the mid lane turret taken and a kill as well. Is that a trade that's worth for them at this point?
Oh, Vitality.Bee are loving it, honestly. They're absolutely licking their lips at that trade. They get a kill, they get the mid-tier 1 turret. It opens up them to walk into the jungle and set up for lots of plays in the future with a load of vision control that they can establish on either side of that mid lane. In either side of the jungle, and Oplon, yes, they stopped that Drake stacking. It means that the soul isn't going to come through for 15 minutes, but if you're looking to take fights in 15 minutes time, you're looking to take fights up against a 35-minute Jinx, Wukong, GP. The same things I've been hitting on the entire game. It doesn't go away just because you took one dragon.
Let's play a game here, Rude Dude. How much AP does Veigar have? And chat, you can get involved as well, guys. Let's get a drum roll here.
461.
461. I'm going to say, let's look at the items.
Oh, he just he just bought Rabadons.
Do you want a new number? That's not fair, I feel like.
I'll go 617.
I'm going to go 549. Observer, can we see how much AP Veigar has?
Wait, we're falling on them. We're falling on them.
Observer.
Come on.
How much did you say?
617.
I mean, you're very close. I mean, fair play to you.
Yeah, I am.
Let us know in the chat if you were close as well. I suppose only you can know. Be honest with yourselves. Don't lie.
Yeah. The only person you're cheating is yourself here.
Yeah, there's going to be someone that says, "Oh, I got 630." Like, yeah, sure you did.
Smile.
Yeah,
you just didn't have faith in you just didn't have faith, Alex, honestly. 234 farm. How do you think he's only got that few stacks of phenomenal power?
Yeah, true. It's my bad. I feel like you're more the optimist on this broadcast, Rude Dude.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm quite pessimistic sometimes.
Or maybe if you want to look at it this way, I'm just the one who's right.
I don't like that. I don't like that characterization at all, to be honest. Speaking of being optimistic and looking at brighter days, Oplon are facing down a 5,000 goldie at the moment.
That's not a very bright day.
No, but you know, no, you're right. Actually, it's not a bright day.
It's not a bright day at all. Oplon are really struggling in this game, Jake.
Well, speaking of optimism, what can we look towards them optimistically forward? Dalek is going to have to ult in response here, otherwise he's going to be too slowed up. The Renata was here. So Jinx ult in the mid lane to stop her back. That's I don't know if you quite caught that, but Jinx just used ult to stop Zecor from backing. There's a bit of a middle finger to the face of Zecor there, just to slow him down a little bit.
You do see this quite frequently, honestly. When there's a lapse in action, right? We look at the Drake timer, 1 minute 50 on that. That's about the same time as a Jinx ult. I don't really need this for the next 90 seconds or so. We'll stop a recall. We'll annoy Zecor a little bit. It is worth mentioning though that Zecor has picked up his item pacing a little bit now, only a pickaxe behind his ADC, which, you know, relative to the 2k gold disparity that we saw a little bit earlier on, definitely a lot better for Oplon. They do have still some tools, 2 items on Ari, 2 items on Zecor. That's the optimism.
Oh, here comes Skeens though. Turns on a knife edge. He's going to be getting stunned up quite a lot here. Here comes a Renata ult. Hostile takeover. Doesn't manage to hit anyone just yet. Schoenfire is in stasis. He gets taken out though. Zecor gets onto by Jagenda here. He gets out over the wall though, but it is going to be a kill onto Schoenfire. He uses everything there to try and get out, but he can't quite do it. Skeens is quite low. Whether or not they turn onto the Baron, we're yet to see, but they're just scouting out the vision thus far, and now they're going to start it.
Yeah, they have such good zone control with Sagenda. He can cut off one of these chokes so easily. They're just going to have to try and face check into this. Blue Ward to spot it going down, but they have to still go through this gangplank.
Look at Olaf. He has Ghost here. He's going to be able to go forward if he wants to. Here he goes. Here comes Dalek. Can he get onto the backline? He finds Diplex. He has Zillion on him as well. It's a flash away from Jeskler. Dalek is still going. He gets out now, though. He's going low. The Zillion ult is not available. It was used preemptively. Gangplank ult is slowing them down. They've stopped the Baron, but at what cost will it come?
None.
It seems to be the case.
None.
They're
Just
able to walk away now. They're going to be able to have the position on the Dragon now, unless they base.
Everybody's looking to take a reset right now. It's probably just going to be another just outright 5v5 down on the bottom side of the map. With Sagenda, he's still full HP, full mana for whatever reason, Essence Reaver OP. And he's going to be able to TP down to this bot side if they want to take a fight. That's a TP in response. Dalek's going long on the TP flank. But he's spotted.
Dalek has gone very, very long here onto Skeens. They managed to find their way out here. He doesn't have the ultimate available, doesn't have Ghost. I'm not really sure how much he thought he could really do there in response to some of this. For example, the Wukong knocking him out has the ultimate available. Oplon have started the Dragon here, so it does mean they have delayed some of the resets, which means unless Veigar gets there in time, which I don't think he quite manages to be able to, it's going to be another Dragon, an Ocean Dragon for Team Oplon. Actually, Veigar is going to get here.
Yeah, he's going to...
Diplex has Predator. Flash forward, ultimate Q. Not necessarily the combo you traditionally want to be going for, but slim pickings there for him. Manages to get him with a WQ combination. It's going to be another kill, another Dragon for Vitality.Bee.
Oh, and this is really rough to see from Oplon. Zecor was mid lane farming. It would have been so easy to just move down and help your jungler secure the Drake, but unfortunately not willing to, you know, sacrifice that farm in favor of getting that Dragon, and it does cost them the Drake and now the kill, and potentially set up around the Baron as well. Last time Schoenfire died, Vitality.Bee wasted no time. They went straight over to the Baron and decided they wanted to go for it. They've learned from the mistakes and said, you know what, it's not as easy as we found out, or it's not as easy as we thought it might be. They're not going to just barrel down towards it straight away. But they are still very far ahead in this matchup and looking very good to now snowball with these Drakes with the opportunities around the map.
Yeah, completely. Shigenda might have been getting caught out here. He goes low, Peng goes and gets a killing spree there. Zecor going from the Cannonball Barrage. It's Skeens going forward. Zillion ult in response is very good. Peng has another charge here. He pops the more. Hostile takeover comes out, but is not able to do much here. Zillion ult comes... sorry, not Zillion ult. Jinx ult comes out. Almost takes down Zecor, but it's another pick for Oplon.
Yeah, and a good kill on the right target as well. Peng continuing now to pick up these kills and needs to be this pseudo-assassin, really, on this Ahri. Is going to have a lot of control in these team fights and has the most part of Oplon's gold. The biggest threat in these fights is the Ahri. If Peng can find the backline, if he can get Jessica, get Jack Troll even, it's going to be very worthwhile. Any one single pick that Peng can get will set them up nicely for the rest of the team fight, because Ahri's team fight capability obviously very much enhanced by the buff that she received a few patches ago, where she gets resets on her ult. Take one down and you can still use your ult to get away, reposition, and see if you look pretty good spot.
Yeah, completely. It's going to be the case that Zillion ult does, like you say, offer a lot of stopping power into some of the engage. For example, you saw Skeens there turn at a knife edge, go onto him. Zillion ult was popped almost immediately. The reaction time was good. Charm that lands onto Jack Troll there, but it's not going to Be much more than that. Diplex over the wall here, tries to find the E onto Zcor. Zcor is just outside of range there.
Predator popped from Diplex, so the engage tools of the Vigar at the very least slightly reduced for the next couple of the next minute or so. And Oplon now largely controlling this top side. It is coming at the cost of their bot lane. You can see Sagenda had forced that into the turret. Not going to stick around for the turret itself, but he's going to move up toward this top side now to try and stop the wave from Peng at least.
They're going to be denying a little bit more farm from Peng there as he almost tries to crash this wave in here. It's going to be a nice wave for Sagenda here. Peng's going to get a reset now. He's moving towards that Rabadon's death cap. It's going to give him a nice spike in damage, give him the potential to catch out any oversteps here. Important to note is that Diplex now has that stopwatch, so it's going to be unlikely he's the one getting caught out. But in terms of getting onto a Jinx, in terms of getting onto a Gangplank who doesn't have any MR, has gone for that more aggressive damage build. Peng, if he can find these angles, is going to be a crucial game player for Team Oplon going forward.
So far, it's been pretty much all Peng in terms of getting the kills. It has been a fairly team-coordinated effort. Trying to collect on those twists has had a fairly decent game of Zilean thus far. You know, the scoreline may not reflect it, but doing what is necessary with good saves. Jessica looking to frontline with Renata W is certainly very cool. You have got the bait of Skeens just nearby.
Sleep comes down now. Cleanse almost in response now. This is not going to be a multi-man sleep, but look at that damage coming out from the Jinx now. Skeens is trying to get a little bit of damage onto Dalek, but that's not exactly the target selection that you want. And that is going to be the Immortal Shield Bow popped by Zcor there.
Yeah, this is huge. They're just going to go to the Baron now. They got 2 rockets, and the Super Mega Death Rocket did 70% of both bot laners. We've got Shield Bow sustaining up one of them. I think Twist is just sort of getting there on his own way.
Dalek has ult and Ghost here. Look to him getting sped up here, whether or not he can get in beyond this cage. He's going to avoid it entirely. It's already gone though, but can they find anything off the back of it? Dalek goes in now aggressively onto the backline. He's hitting Diplex. He gets resurrected, but Oplon are routed at the Baron. They can't find much. They don't have the power to go forwards like that, and Vitality.Bee have stormed their way into a mid game. They've stormed their ways into a Baron, and Oplon not coming up with any answers.
No, and just really good zone control from a Gangplank right there. You put down the cannon barrage in the middle of the river, and Oplon never feel comfortable walking through it. Quite rightly, just splits up the fight entirely. Dalek absolutely routed. 1 versus 5 can never get any form of damage down in that situation. Renata just too good a job at preventing it. Now with the Baron in their back pocket, Jinx on 3 items. Jessica's feeling like an absolute madman this game, and trying to take down this Jinx is going to be near impossible.
He's at 10 CS a minute, 3 items now. This is when the Jinx really starts to rattle away in quite a demonically aggressive way. The Renata cult comes out. They're going to go straight for the end there. Zcor is still farming bot lane. It's a big engage from Schönfire. Sleep goes on to 3 now, but he's getting taken down almost immediately. Zcor comes back. He's gone away for war in the bot lane for a few minions, comes back to find his entire base taken. He's going to have to come up big here if they're going to do anything. He's cutting in and out here, flashes forward, does manage to find Jinx here. Zcor is coming up huge here, has a lot of movement speed, trying to find even more here. He comes out, finds another one onto Wukong. It's a triple kill, it's a quadra kill for Zcor. He's still going now. Can he find the pentakill? Jigenda's going to be walking away now. Zcor seems to have accepted that he won't be getting his pentakill now, but he has found 4 kills at the dawn of the game now. It's going to be a flash forward from Peng. Q2 doesn't hit, but the other Frost does. W comes out now. It's an ace for Oplon. And their base has died, but their hope hasn't quite. 4 kills for Zcor, another dragon. And whether or not they can hold on is a dire question at this point, but they are able to find something.
It's a hypercarry meta, and we're just living in it here, Don Jake. It's Jessica who starts off everything looking so good for Vitality.Bee. But Zcor, with those minions farmed in the bot lane, comes back with an Infinity Edge. Comes back to defend the Nexus, and just barely does it. This is a 3v5 defense from Oplon. They do a pretty good job. Schönfire has had a pretty rough game so far, but what is a very engagement onto all 4 carry members of Vitality.Bee stops them for just long enough for Dalek to come in, act as a front line. Yes, he goes down, but it stops them hitting the Nexus. It stops them hitting that priority target. And then in comes Zcor. Flashes onto Jessica, says he wants the 1v1, the 1v4 essentially, in the midst of the minions, in the midst of the entirety of Vitality.Bee. This double slow coming through ensures the fate of the other 2 members. And Zcor, I think quite wisely here, once Sagenda hits that blast cone, goes away to the mid lane to stop the creeps coming down. I think that 1Q, 1 auto attack from Sagenda, and Zico probably gets his penta denied right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And speak about that being the power of this Zeri in these extended fights where you can really start to get that movement speed stacking up. You kite in and out. One of the problems for that is the Veigar with that Predator finding that E constantly if it can get in that range for that. Vitality.Bee do have the tools to stop this Zeri coming online. But the minute those tools get used, the Zeri can really do a lot here. But the problem now for Oplon is not to get optimistic to an obscene extent. They do have the Nexus down. The mid lane inhibitor is down as well. It's going to be a really hard task in terms of just being able to stop Vitality.Bee from getting into your base, but they bought a little bit of time at least.
Yeah, we've got effectively 2 front lines in Schönfire and Dalek. They have to act as a front line at this point. Yes, we've got Stasis and a lot of AP from Schönfire, but his job is to get a big sleep. You really want to wait for the Lilia flash before you try and take any engagement so that you can find that big flash engage and big multi-man sleep. And then Peng and Zico need to keep playing incredibly well, right? We've got Peng 4-0-3 so far this game. Has had a pretty good time of things on the Ahri, just not quite being able to utilize that to enough of an extent to stop Vitality.Bee. And then you've got Zico as well. Also needs to step up huge continually and make sure that he's got Twist in his back pocket. The Zillion Zeri late game can't be understated as to how powerful that may prove to be. But they're still up against it. They're still up against the Vitality.Bee squad, which in its entirety scales very well. 896 dialing over to 900 soon. Magic damage, ability power for Diplex. Jinx late game, Wukong late game. We've said it before. This is terrifying to look at if you are Oplon.
Yeah, completely. Important to note for me is that 4th item picked up by Zico in his previous base. Has the stopwatch as well. Skeen's going to go quite aggressively here with the Renata W onto him. Being encircled here. Jigenda does have the ultimate available and the teleport. We're trying to stop this tier 2 turret being taken in the bot side, and it's quite a nervous quiet on the Rift now after that previous fight. You feel almost as if Vitality.Bee are slightly scared to just, you know, put this down one step too far, too forward. They want to take it methodical. They want to move towards the next Baron to be able to take this game. Baron not too far away from spawning, but definitely not going in with the quite going in with more of a tempered aggression than we've seen previously.
Certainly not being as brazen as we may have seen from them in other games. They are keeping it quite controlled and just making sure that they're playing for the objectives. Right now, there's no reason for them to go for a fight. Yes, if they win it, they can end the game, but if they lose it, the cost is just too high. It is effectively just an all-out 5v5 if they want to go for it. Now, with the Baron spawning, they can play for an objective. They can use the Gangplank to set up and control an area of the map. Use that Cannon Barrage once again to great effect and start making the plays around the objective. And you know, you don't even have to win the objective.
Jigenda onto Peng might be able to find some damage here. Not quite, though. It's all about angles here. Can Peng do the Checo lag? Can he find that flank angle that wins them the fight? Can they buy enough space for Zico to ramp up that movement speed, start to do a lot of damage in these fights? Or will the impending engage of 5v5 from Vitality be too much now? Dalek comes around the side now. Jack Troll's going to deny that entrance. It goes down to 5k. It's no longer a question of whether they can get the Baron. It's a question of whether they can get the pick. Shigenda goes low. Peng goes in. Jessica gets sped up by Renata. Here comes Dalek though. Has the ghost available. It's been popped. Going rather low. When will they use the Zillion ultimate is the question. Vitality.Bee have gotten the Baron now and staring on the empty Nexus. It's an empty, cold Nexus that will now soon fill the Whispering Winds of Vitality.Bee's siege unit. And whether or not Oplon can survive is a question now that will have to be answered. Can they come up big now? Peng and Zico have so much to do now with Dalek's ultimate burn, with the ghost burn. They're going to be knocking on the doors now of this base. Here comes Zico. The clone goes down from Skeens. The ultimate is not available from that Gangplank. It's going to mean a lot of space now. Giflex has that Banshee's proc by the Villiers E.
And now, no ult for Zico. This is the time. This is that window Vitality.Bee have been looking for. They've stalled for a fair while now. Got a fight. Got the Baron. And if they go for an engagement right now, Zico is on limited power.
It's an intense standoff in the top lane here. The Baron minions mounting. Here goes Peng. He flashes out of the E there, but couldn't find the pick there. Here comes the counter engage. Zillion ult is used onto the Olaf. Here comes Schönfire. Can he find a sleep here? He flashes forward, but 2 man members have been found. Zico has to go into the stopwatch. He's going to get taken out by the Veigar cage. And the man who had to do it all, the man who solved the world, unfortunately, Peng cannot find the engage. He can't find the E. He has to flash out. And at the pinnacle of what could have been Oplon come up with no answers yet again. An 0-4 start to the split is disappointing to them, but a Vitality.Bee, they misfire once, but they do charge forwards and end the game off to a 4-0 start for themselves.
And Vitality.Bee, like you say, really strong, really controlled this game. A slightly different take. They never looked like they were going to lose this game, but they certainly were challenged for it, I think is the best way to go for. What we were expecting to be a fairly one-sided dominant rollover from Vitality.Bee onto Oplon didn't prove to be the case. Oplon certainly showed their